Welcome to today's episode of the Rewards Mastermind, where we dive into the intricacies of HR strategies that are shaping the future of work. Joining us today is Larisa Grizilo, a seasoned HR business partner renowned for her transformative approach to workforce management. With over 2 decades of international experience, Larisa has carved a niche into the realms of people management strategies. Her philosophy is a harmonious blend of fostering collaboration, nurturing internal talent, and developing trusted relationships across cultural lines. It's all aimed at delighting customers while boosting organizational performance. For leaders looking to reshape their companies into effective workplaces, Larisa offers not just strategies, but a vision on how holistic HR practices can lead to sustainable success. So let's uncover the secrets to harnessing a total rewards approach that dives into today's exceptional results for companies to drive a total rewards program in, specifically in this case, Slovenia and Croatia. Welcome, Larisa. Right location here.
Is it okay if I leave the video like unblurred or?
Oh yeah, it's fine. No, that's fine. Yeah, that's
Okay.
completely fine. Yeah. So Larisa, I mean, thank you for joining me today on this topic and going through the, how rewards is done in Slovenia and Croatia and so forth. And I really appreciate your taking time out of your day to dive into this deeply. But before we begin, I would just love to hear a little bit more about how you got into rewards overall and helping companies really design workplaces that are fair and balanced and attract great people and create happy people.
You put nicely. Actually, my career started still in the previous millennial. Actually, I started working in late 90s. And actually, I was studying, you will not believe it, fashion design. I'm not so much, doesn't have much in common with people and HR processes and rewards. But in general, I would say, but on the other hand, creativity is something what is quite taught in the design studies, So being creative, do something out of nothing is usually a value, highly valued everywhere, So my career started in Wrigley's, so chewing gums from Chicago. And I tell you, I could not wish for better school than Wrigley was. Wrigley was at that time, one of the best multinational companies present more or less everywhere in the world. And it has really a human-centric approach from the first day I joined. And in the late 90s, when really things started to change in the HR arena, I would say, Wrigley was very advanced. So everything what we did in Wrigley, we did on a global scale everywhere, more or less the same or aligned with the local needs. But in terms of big processes, we really implemented all in the same way. Like, I don't know, we started with engagement surveys and then learning and development plans. Performance management was quite a big thing in the 90s. And so I'm really very fortunate that I was part of Wrigley for 13 years. Not just in Slovenia, actually, I was covering a broader region, of course, at the beginning, more on a, let's say, admin and then specialist level, and then also in the managerial level. But I was covering, all former Yugoslavia countries, so Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, Kosovo, then Albania, Bulgaria, Romania. So these are the countries here, close to Adriatic coast, Slavic nations, especially, and Romanians. Great experience after really. And so here I really learned more or less everything what I know now. Of course, I added some more things afterwards, but for the basis, this was really the core knowledge I got it there. Then I moved to Sanofi, so a pharmaceutical multinational French company, quite different from American culture and approach. Honestly, I would say I prefer American approach, but nevertheless, it was very interesting to see how things are done differently in a pharma environment. Also on the Adriatic region, so covering all these countries which I stated before. Then Discover Financial Services, once again, American-based multinational, also quite interesting, with Diners Club International business. And then after this, I moved to Telco. And actually, I am still officially a member of A1 Telekom Austria Group, which is the biggest telco operator in the Central Eastern Europe, with a headquarter in Vienna, but covering the same countries and Belarus. Belarus is a bit different then. I haven't mentioned Belarus before. I don't know. I would say I'm quite happy that A1 Telekom Austria Group is anyway not so much connected with American Mobile, which is also the owner. I mean, approximately 50% owner of A1 Telekom Austria Group. Here, nevertheless, we have a bit different culture and customer expectations that maybe, I don't know, in South America, where American Mobile is quite strong. Rewards, you asked me about rewards. Actually, rewards were always a part of my responsibility, and I really learned from the best in Wrigley's. I would say there were some great rewards experts working in Wrigley, especially from the States. There were some really great guys, reward guys. Kings of matrices, etc. I remember one was even had this nickname. And it was, I mean, rewards are the most technical part of HR, I would say. Mostly, somewhere in between finance and HR, and very structured. And structure always helps people to somehow find their own place within the structure. I really value the rewards, and somehow I love them from the beginning, and they are still my love, I would say.
Yes, and so what about rewards? And do you particularly like? I mean, is it the impact on people, or is it working with people? What is the thing that you enjoy the most?
No, I mean, actually, I would say first, for me, it's really important to somehow translate the business strategy into the rewards offering, finding the link or interconnection, I think you need to start here, you need to start here, and then based on this, you put other things on. Also depends where are you in the maturity level as organization. Are you still growing? Are you expecting to grow? So of course depends then also how you somehow position your salaries or rewards approach towards your employees. Are you stagnating or growing? So all these things matters when you define things like this. And then of course job architecture as such is the key thing within the rewards, in my opinion. Very important for I would say leaders to understand the structure and somehow value jobs relatively to others and understand the differences, but then even more for employees. I mean, to understand where they are, what is expected from them, what KPIs are key for their, let's say, good job performance, based on what they will be rewarded, etc. But what I'm talking is really ideal, I would say. I mean, I don't know much companies who have rewards pitch perfect prepared or stated, maybe in their drawers or known in details just by some. Majority of employees are still quite in dark regarding rewards, honestly speaking. So that's why I'm in a way very much looking forward to pay transparency directive to somehow become alive here in European Union, because I think that this directive, although it's just a law, and of course it will require a lot of reporting, and actually all the laws are in general perceived quite negatively by all, you know. But if you really look, if you take a big picture approach, you see that actually it's a great opportunity and a great base to do to somehow start to different approaches in the future, and so I'm quite passionate about this.
Yes, it's definitely a good step forward for pay fairness, and in many places, not just in Europe as where the regulation is written, but it's impacting global policies. So it's a great step forward for the world overall. And
For sure.
yes, but
But I wonder, Sam, and I'm really here curious. I mean, in the States, okay, not in all the states, but in some countries within United States, the transparency law is alive for some years already. Have you noticed any positive changes afterwards, and what are they? Because I think the examples from United States are maybe a good examples also for us to somehow sell this directive better in Europe. So what would you say?
yeah, so I've seen a lot of great benefits in the pay transparency movements in the United States. So one thing is there's definitely deep social issues that are inherent biases in pay, such as certain professions that are dominated by certain genders are paid less, and that is a social problem that is working its way out over time. So those things are long-standing. But what pay transparency has brought us, I mean, just simply posting pay ranges on job applications and so forth has caused that transparency has caused employers to ensure that they have their structures in their policies in a fair manner. Because the first thing that happens when they post a pay range is that everybody in the organization that has a job similar is looking at that and saying, well, where am I on that? And so that creates hard conversations that managers and leadership of those organizations have to have with people. And it's encouraging them to ensure that they have fair and equitable structures behind the scenes. And so I would have to say that the pay transparency laws has increased the pay fairness in the United States and will continue to do so and in the years going forward as we continue, our companies continue to get this right.
But did it bring also, did it decrease the gender pay gap as well? Because
Well,
actually that was the ultimate goal with
yes.
pay transparency in the United States as well, I assume.
That's right. But that's part of the first part of my response to you was there's long inherent biases in pay that is in the market. And so we can all say, for instance, I guess just to use teachers as an example, and now I know there's both genders that are in the profession now, but the profession has in the United States has been plagued by low pay in a lot of areas because of the gender bias towards women in that role in 50 years ago or so, and it still resides today. And the reason why it still resides today is not because we want to pay that job less, is because the market pay that is carried year over year, we're looking at that number and it has inherent bias already in it. So
Yeah, I know.
yeah, so the pay gap is still exists even though we have the pay transparency, but but I believe the pay transparency rules in the United States will cause that pay gap to close much faster.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what is the average gender pay gap in total United States? Do you maybe know?
Yeah, so it's the common statistic that is quoted is 80 cents on the dollar. Now that is shrinking
Good
depending
20%.
on,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, definitely shrinking as we go forward. And so what is it in Slovenia and Croatia?
So, I mean, the average in European Union is something below 13, I
Hmm.
think 12.7. In Slovenia, it's 8. So we are one of the leading, so with less of the gender pay gap. Croatia is a bit worse. I would say it's around EU average. But what struck me, and it's really amazing that actually in the last several years, actually it got increased, not decreased, you know. I mean, in whole EU, but also here in Slovenia, Croatia.
Yeah.
So, of course, we do not have pay transparency yet, directive active, but nevertheless, I mean, considering the ESG goals and really a frequent communication on gender equality, more women in, I don't know, leadership roles, etc., that actually this communication didn't bring enough of
Mm.
results, you know. So yeah, it looks like we really need a directive, you know,
Right.
and also some punishments for the for the organizations which do not comply, most probably.
Yes, yes, for sure. Now your experience is deep and wide, and has you have experience in the U.S. and you're in Croatia and Slovenia and also in the EU and many areas in the Baltics. And so with that experience, have you what are the main difference in reward strategies that you've seen specifically in Slovenia and Croatia that are different from the United States and Europe?
Hmm. What I would definitely put on the first, second place, I mean, I mentioned it to you already last time. Work-life uh, balance is very important to people here in this region because I mean we have so nice, beautiful outdoor. Most probably this is the reason. I don't know. And families are also very important. You know, I mean we are close to Italy. I mean our neighbors is Italy. You know, so mama, you know, mama and family is very important. So people really appreciate spending quality time with families and in outdoors or with friends outdoors. So work-life balance and then flexibility, you know, in terms of work is number one for sure. I tell you, I mean, for example, in A1, and I'm still working in A1, and in A1 in Slovenia we employ 650 people, in Serbia almost 2,000, in Croatia 3,000. But let me focus now on Slovenia, especially. I mean, we had when Corona hit, of course, we all went home, working from home, so remote fully. And then when Corona was improved, let's say so, we like slowly returned to the office, but actually we remain on free to approach. So we allowed employees to work outside office 3 days a week, and we somehow expect that they are in the office 2 days a week. And a majority of other companies decided to return to the office much more, like maybe especially 4-1 approach, so 4 days in the office, one outside the office. Our employees really appreciated the most that the flexibility which remained.
Mhm.
And I mean, from the discussion with my colleagues, I mean, we do have, I mean, and our HR is really focused on employees. So we have a lot of, let's say, one-on-one discussions with employees and also doing the surveys, etc. A lot, I mean, that was, I would say, the best retention strategy for us, you know, allowing our people to have a flexibility in their work. Also during the day, you know, I mean, for example, you need to go to the doctor, or you need to take your child to the doctor, or your parents, or your dog, you know, and we allow these things, and I mean, employees appreciate this so much, and they return at least double, in terms of course, engagement, motivation, satisfaction, and also work, so I would say flexibility in work is number one benefit, although it's not a benefit really, but it is a benefit, then the second thing is, I would say, everything related to sport and wellness. So like gym participation or whatever, I mean, tickets for sport activities, also team buildings, or team activities. So these are the things which are valued the most by our by people in Slovenia and Croatia as well. Of course, also others, especially focusing, benefits focusing on career progression. So I don't know, MBA tuitions and this kind of things. This is also valued, but this kind of benefit is mostly interested really for maybe 10-15% of your workforce in the company,
Right. And a lot of these approaches are common on a global perspective from US and EU and so forth. But I think one of the key pieces we need to dig in is to the extent of how much. So first of all, let's just look at when we're thinking about the differences in time off. Did you perceive are there different? What is the norm of time off of vacations and holiday that you typically see in Slovenia and Croatia?
For sure, big difference between United States and Slovenia and Croatia. The starting numbers of annual vacation by law is 20 days vacation. So this is the minimum. And then of course it grows with years of service and maybe education. I mean, depends. You have different parameters available to define what is your logic of defining total vacation days. But for example, I have 30 vacation days, so I mean, I'm sure that this is quite much more than average state US vacation days,
Yes.
Also, maternity leave. Maternity leave is also quite different. I mean, here, it's 1 year maternity leave.
Oh, wow, good.
And it can be also, not really extended, but you can also ask for a shorter work after you return, so you can work like 6 hours a day, and the difference is paid by the government. And also the companies are really, accepting quite willingly this kind of arrangement. Of course, if you have twins, you will get even more, but 1 year for maternity is really, yes. I would say, very reasonable. And what is also quite, I would say, typical although not so much typical as maybe in Holland, but here also fathers take the paternity leave quite regularly. I know no father who would not take a paternity leave. It's important. In the first months when child is born, you need to somehow make a connection with the little one, and fathers play a really important role.
I would definitely hope so. So, and Larisa, can you explain is when we talk about the genders and parental leave, do men take as long of leave as women do in Croatia and Slovenia?
No. Still mother is the main caregiver in the family. No, I think fathers have. I think they can be on parental leave up to 3 months, but also, within first 3 months, it's something, and then they can take other days afterwards within the first year of from when child is born, but up to 3 months. So it's not the same. Usually, nevertheless, mother takes the whole maternity leave, although I mean, fathers are allowed to take the also, instead of mother, the whole maternity leave, you know. But I know nobody who would stay at home. I mean, and being a father, you know.
Yes, yes, okay. And then also related to that, if we so that we were talking about gender pay differences before, and then some studies show that it can be a part of that could be the time of leave in maternity. So it's like when a woman is stepping out of her career for a year and a man is stepping out for 3 months or so.
Yeah.
A man can continue to get those pay increases where a woman may not. Is there special programs or ways that companies are ensuring that doesn't cause pay disparities?
Not yet.
Yeah.
And I would really say not yet. I do hope that with pay transparency and really the structure, the reward structure, you know, which organizations hopefully will make, you know, they will also tackle this issue, because really the majority of pay difference between women and men comes with the maternity, I'm sure, you know. Because I mean, okay, here now, but it's the same also in the States. I mean, women decide to be a mother later than they used to, you know. So now, I mean, you have a first child and you are most probably already 30 years old, you know. So by 30, actually, I mean, you are active, you want to build a career, yeah, for sure, and you build, but actually it's not enough time really to build something reasonable if you study until your 25th, let's say, year. So, but actually then I see that women really start working on their career more when they reach 40, 45. So when kids are already like, at least in the school, you know, if not already like almost grown up, then you can really focus on the career. But nevertheless, between 30 and 40, the gap happens, you know, and usually this pay gap, I mean, you get 2 years of pay gap, you know. I mean, it's 1 year maternity, and then of course organizations or employer think, okay, the lady will go to maternity, so why to change now the salary anyway? It doesn't make sense. She will not be paid by the company but by the state, so it's all the same. And then they return. Of course, they are not like performing. They cannot show what they did in the previous year, so they have a lack of 2 years actually. And here comes the difference, and actually 8% difference is more or less this, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you have two kids, of course, then the difference is even bigger. I mean, more kids on average here. The Slovenes and Croatian ladies usually they don't have. Usually,
Right.
the average is, I think, 1.5.
So returning to kind of the rewards piece there. I mean, when we look at the larger organizations compared to smaller organizations, is there a way that how are employers in Slovenia and Croatia retaining people and competing with those larger organizations that may have deeper pockets and more benefits?
I would even say that not necessarily bigger organizations have deeper pockets. I mean, I would say, I mean, there are some differences between Slovenia and Croatia, although I would still say that there are more similarities than differences, because nevertheless, Slovenia and Croatia were both members of one country called Yugoslavia for 40 plus years. And actually also the employment law, I mean, although, I mean, of course now it's Slovene employment law and Croatian employment law, but when you read it, you see that actually it derives from the same law, you know, not many differences, you know. Also in terms of maternity leave, vacation approaches, everything. But what we need to be aware that especially Croatia, I mean, Croatian stability in employment, I would say, comes from big organizations. I mean, in Croatia, there are some big employers. I mean, some in post office, then, okay, forestry as well, electricity, also, okay, retail. There are some big retailers. And they employ really majority of people, Croatians. Interesting comparison. Croatia is, in terms of population, almost twice as size of Slovenia, almost. Slovenia is 2, Croatia is 3.6. For example, the number of small and medium-sized companies, let's say the companies up to 100 employees, you have in Croatia 160 of them, in Slovenia 150 of them. You already, from this information, see different environment. Slovenia is really small and medium size focused country, although of course we also have some big employers in the same industry as I mentioned for Croatia, but Croatia is even more towards big companies. And I think the diversity also in terms of big companies, medium, small size, is better when you are dispersed better, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So you said, how can smaller companies compete with bigger? I would say people appreciate, new generations appreciate flexibility, agility, or flexibility in this respect. So definitely you have more of it in small or medium versus in big. In big, there is usually it somehow represent slow, rigid quite often, and also quite often with lower salaries on average, of course, excluding the management. Somehow the scale is really, huge, but majority of the people are somewhere down. In small and medium organization, actually, here there are more of a search of a T-shaped employees, with more different skills and experiences, and then also the salary package or the rewards package is in a way, covering this T-shaped knowledge better as well. So there are not pluses towards big companies, maybe just in terms of security and stability. So maybe depends really in what kind of mode or career expectation you are. So this is really important. But then how small and medium can compete better is definitely, I would say, with high quality employer branding. And I think employer branding is quite important, So being present on social media, there where actually your potential candidates are, showing cool movies, how the work looks like in your great mini company, etc. Right. And so I can really see that employer branding improved a lot, and especially it is the small and medium sized companies are leading in this arena, I would say.
I see. Now when we're thinking about the different industries, you were talking about the work-life flexibility and a lot of let's say if you're going into an office environment, but how does this change in a manufacturing environment? Do you see is there differences that are focused there for people that have to be on site in doing that manufacturing process?
The people where you cannot be much flexible, especially in the factories or in the shops or in the, health institutions. Here not much flexibility is offered, honestly speaking. But actually, employees who are in these professions, they are aware what comes with the job. I mean, you cannot. You cannot operate from home, not yet, at least. But then, companies can provide some other benefits in substitute of flexibility, which they don't offer to these groups of employees. For example, like maybe some additional vacation days or some financial add-ons as well. But usually it's additional vacation days.
Okay, so more flexibility and time off and so forth. Now, what are with manufacturing employees, what are they looking for in an employer?
Yeah, I mean, stability, security for sure. Good relationships with their peers in the factory or in the environment where they work. Understanding or perceiving that their manager appreciate them, appreciate them as a human being, but also as employee, that they value their work. So, I mean, common things, quite logical. What do you value? I mean, actually, these are really the key things which we humans value. You want to be seen, appreciated, etc. I mean, we all want to be the best we can be, but somehow we appreciate if the other side recognize this.
Right. So what do you, and we talked about Slovenia and Croatia. They really, people there, employees really love their time flexibility and time with family and so forth. Now when you, in your experience in looking at of workers there and the time off that they have, and then of course the United States and the European Union, I mean, is there a certain pressure at work that you think that when you're at work, you're focused, you're more productive, and to enable that time off? Is that something that you see?
I mean, in general, I would say that here in the region, productivity, we do have some room to improve in general. I mean, but so I think that leaders who really have a way to somehow define what needs to be done, and somehow delete or delimit things which are not so important, these leaders will win, because, I mean, it's important that you do things which brings most value and somehow not do things which do not bring value. When you do not have this kind of approach, when everything is priority, usually also productivity suffers, And then, of course, things are, I mean, you work longer on the project, because anyway, there are millions of projects which are waiting. And so everything is really somehow going in a slower pace. So really, the leaders who will know how to focus on key priorities or things which brings more values will, and somehow will be able to communicate and inspire people, those will win.
Right. So it's good in leadership to make sure that they have clear communication. They focus on what needs to be done with and show priorities and direction, so it can be efficient at work.
Exactly. And at the end, Sam, I mean, communication is really key. I mean, also in rewards. I mean, great that you made such a great structure. I mean, reward structure and everything beautiful and everything well calculated and thought through. But if you have it in your drawer, I mean, not much help, So how to communicate it, how to sell it, so that the other side bought it and is inspired and motivated by it. This is, I think, the key thing. And communication is actually the glue and the link here.
Yes. And so what is the standard work day, and as far as how many hours worked in Croatia and Slovenia?
I mean, we have standard 40 hours workday, but in these 40 hours, it's actually 7.5 hours of work and half an hour paid break.
Mm-hmm.
So but we still say 40 hours workday. So this is the standard. And actually, it's the same in Croatia and also in other former Yugoslavian countries.
Okay, great. Now,
and usually the companies work, I would say, from 8 to 4 or from 9 to 5, some even from 7 to 3. But I would say majority, where it's possible, of course, where you can allow flexibility, they have a flexible coming and leaving, so arriving to the office up to 10, let's say so, and not leaving the office before 3. That would be like the logic. But of course, making sure that you have like 8 hours work done, or 40 a week.
So how common are rewards such as like a variable pay bonus and so forth among different groups, such as manufacturing, and office jobs and so forth?
Okay. So I would say in factories, usually there is just a base pay. I mean, base pay. So of course, also with supplements, like here we pay food supplement daily. I mean, it's not taxed and no contributions are paid, so it's net. But you are eligible for daily food supplement, which you get paid. Usually in the factories, they provide, they have canteens and they provide food, but in office environment, they pay the food supplement. Also, commute to work is paid, also not taxed. This is also quite a different regulation. I mean, so it's quite, you can also calculate, maybe it's better that I live like 100 kilometers away because my commute to work is 100 kilometers. So I need to return. So 200 kilometers multiplied by per kilometer. So it's substantial money at the end of the month, But I mean, of course, you lose so many hours that this is anyway stupid at the end, But in general, I would say factory or blue collar workers usually have just the base pay and these regulatory add-ons like food supplement, commute to work, then maybe also working shifts. This is usually also add-on, or during the weekends or on Sundays or on national holidays. But this is it usually. And then, okay, there is also a vacation bonus, which is regulated by law. What is the minimum and maximum amount, which is then not taxed and no contributions are needed to be paid. The same for Slovenia and Croatia. But this is also, this is regulated by law, so all employers need to pay this. And then there is potentially also like a Christmas bonus, which is like less taxed, but Christmas bonus has other regulations. It needs to be paid out the same amount to all employees within the organization, the same. And no matter how much you were present at work, so sick leaves, maternity, etc., should not be counted in. So if there is, if company was successful, then and it decided that it will pay a Christmas bonus, then this bonus needs to amount in the same amount for all employees within organization. I would say that maybe 30%, 40% of organization pay Christmas bonus because somehow it has a bit of, let's say, socialist or communist kind of flavor equal to all, and usually not so much appreciated by higher positioned leaders within organization. The others usually have additional bonuses or sales incentives that usually it's one or another. It's more frequent, more common that these for office people, so not sales, but non-sales people, that this bonus is annual. Although I really believe that more and more organizations will, or maybe better, should transfer to quartal bonuses, because annual bonuses really doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. They are not a motivation at the end. You somehow feel it as this is something what is mine. I'm entitled to this. With quarterly bonuses, somehow you are a bit more pushed or driven to achieve the targets and get the bonus. And somehow you see the results of your work earlier, and then you appreciate it more. Sales, it's quite common to have quarterly sales incentive bonuses. This is the most often. Monthly is just, too big of administrative burden, if we would be so digitally advanced and everything in the systems, etc., maybe it would work, but I think we are far from there.
Now we were talking about the importance of time off and so forth. What happens if a person works over their daily allotted hours?
Yeah, actually, you are not allowed to work more than 20 hours a month more than what is the monthly requirement. Although, this is by the law. And of course, some organizations still somehow expect that people will work more, and also employees somehow put more hours sometimes when needed, more than 20 a month more than needed, because we are responsible people. The project is here, we need to finish it on time with good quality, etc., and you do it. But in general, the law is you should not have too much of an overtime. Overtime is usually, for, let's say, white collar employees, usually not paid out, but it's more like you use these hours as day offs or hours off, afterwards. Blue collar employees get their overtime paid, and this overtime payment is usually 50% higher than regular pay for the hours. There is a scale how it is defined, quite clear, and organizations are following the rules in this respect, but mostly for blue collars, for white not.
Great. Well, Larisa, we've covered many things during our discussion here, and I know we'll have future conversations. But when we're thinking about multinational organizations that may have locations in Croatia and Slovenia, what are the top things that they should know from this conversation?
Maybe not just from this conversation, but in general, I would say people here in Slovenia, Croatia, in general, the whole region, and I really hardly somehow limit myself to Slovenia and Croatia, because whole my career I was working also in Serbia, Bosnia, etc. So Serbia is really close to my heart as well, and also the other countries. But nevertheless, Slovenia and Croatia are the only countries members of European Union, and somehow this also somehow maybe potentially to potential American companies means something what is like, what to expect, the regulations are aligned with European Union, things are like organized, what you can expect in general, So what American companies can expect here? There is quite a lot of knowledge, I would say. In general, we are here, English is spoken, 100%. I know nobody who would not speak at least conversational English. Even the blue collar workers, everyone speaks English because you learn in school. We really, we are great hosts for sure. And so Americans will always have great time here in the region. And we especially somehow, we really like to host the Westerns, if maybe even more than the Easterns, maybe, you know. They will be for sure involved in family or community local for sure, because this is close. We value this a lot. And also, volunteering activities. I forgot to mention it before, like when I said team building, etc. Here lately, organizations are really organizing volunteering activities, and they are highly valued, to help communities or people in need together, and being proud that company allows this, and doing this together, it's such a great fun, and you do some great things. So volunteering is very important. So these they can expect. Tech knowledge in general, I would say it's on a high level. I mentioned last time to you Serbia, which has really amazing number of STEM-based universities, but the same situation is also in Croatia and Slovenia. We even have, we are called here in Slovenia the nation of engineers, because we really had a lot of engineers in the past. We have them as well now. So these these are the key things, and they will have a great time, and I think they will soon value the same things as we value.
Well, this is great. Well, thank you so much for the conversation today. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
You are welcome. And you will need to send me your address so that I can send you the book, and you will then come visit it me.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, great, Sam. Have a great weekend.
Yes, you too.
Yeah.
Wonderful conversation. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.